And we're in. So good afternoon to me. Good morning to you. Deanna Bogart, all the way from California. I'm very excited on the Good Listening To podcast because you're my first foray overtly across the pond in the Good Listening To
Really? I'm
podcast.
honored.
Well, I'm honored too because I loved your website. Welcome to Deanna Land is what you say. And you can even, I'll explain all this and you can tell us more. You can even get a Deannagram like what you're doing there. We'll come on to that. So this is the Good Listening To podcast, and I'm Chris Grimes. I'm the curator, author, and presenter. And what I particularly enjoy curating in this space called the Good Listening To podcast is the clearing, where all good questions come to be asked and all good stories come to be told. And talking of good stories, we are blessed with the presence of Deanna Bogart. Woo-hoo! So
And you,
you're a very, very exciting and prolific musician. I think you've got about 12 albums, but you might have more.
I never really keep count.
I
I just
like
keep
that.
going.
You're just prolific. And you're known for smoky vocals and smooth saxophone. And you're a musical genre free zone. You can say all of this, but the only genre you're into is authenticity. So I liked you from the get-go as soon as I started working out. And by the way, it's Katie Elliott Armitage is our person in common. And I like the fact you did that because I do that too when I think about her.
What a marvelous link.
Thank you. And I gather she was telling me just this morning, which would have been very early for you. I get that because I have to say I slightly cocked up on Deanna's and mine's behalf. I got our time zones completely wrong. And I was trying to get her to do this at some awful, god awful hour for you. But you've been very accommodating and you've scrubbed up lovely for the conversation.
Thank you very much. It's the what the hell blow dry.
I haven't got enough hair to not worry about or what the hell blow dry now.
As
That's
long as
good.
we have hair, I'm glad.
And Katie said she met you on a big boat on Lake Lugano. How glamorous is that? And then
I
subsequently,
know.
yes. So I'm going to shut up and let you talk now because it's about you. So how are you today in California, Deanna Bogart?
I am. I am good. I am good. I'm in the desert, in near Palm Springs in Coachella Valley, near Joshua Tree, and it's beautiful here. So if one has to be quarantined somewhere, it was helpful. It's been helpful.
And by the way, can I just say I love the way you said quarantined there. That's such a lovely way to say it. Thank you. I'm very interested by linguistics and language, and that was lovely.
Well,
Um,
thank
And in fact, you're doing a concert. I mean, as we record, I happen to know that in 3 days' time, you're doing a concert which is going to be broadcast from Palm Desert, California. Just tell us about that, first of all.
there's as of last March when everything stopped, and road musicians like myself. Well, I'm a road musician for over 40 years, but now I'm a road musician without a road. So you have to find many other different roads, which there's always options. I'll find them. And anyway, there was some folks that started something called Can't Stop the Blues, and then they had people do videos, and then it would be fundraisers. People could see concerts if they could help out, great. If not, just enjoy. And there was many of them. They were wonderful, and I guess so many people were doing things online, and everybody's every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Monday. And
Yeah.
I watched a lot of them. And for me, when everybody's doing something, I tend to not do that.
Ah, yes. So you like to be a maverick and go in the opposite direction.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
I relate
For
to that.
better or for worse, but I do. And just about a month or two ago, I had some friends just on me for it. And I knew I would be awkward because I knew it would be rusty. I knew that you'd have one shot at it. And and they finally got to me, and like, so I think somebody dared me, and then I become 8 years old and I have to go, oh yeah, I can. So
So you've
so
already, so this is what I'm hearing is this is in the can because I saw a Facebook post where you'd been in the desert filming it. So this is something in the can for you, isn't it?
it is. We did it about maybe 2 weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
and it was. And so, I called a few people into, a lot of my guys are on the East Coast, but I play with a lot of wonderful musicians on the West Coast. So I'm calling a few people. Anybody want to do this? You want to drive from LA and do this with me? And the budget is no budget, and you can say no. I love you. And everybody said yes. And then I called this camera guy who lived out here and an LA filmmaker and cameraman. And so I called him, and he goes, "That sounds wonderful. What's the budget?" I said, "The budget is no budget. I just thought I'd start at the top, and thanks and sorry to take your time." And he goes, "Well, no, wait a minute. No, no, I think I'll do it." And
Oh,
and it was like a seed turned into a beanstalk, which the beanstalk effect is one of my things.
lovely. And by the way, just the idea of ask and you shall be maybe given is the idea of yes and. Comedy improvisation is my passion, and just a mindset of saying yes and more. And bless you for even saying yes, and I'll speak to you too, Chris, in this strange wilderness. And even the podcast has got going out of adversity. You know, when you look back over this path and journey since last March, only when you look back through your adversity can you see the grace. And hurrah.
Exactly. If you kind of just go with it and kind of
Yes.
surrender when those feathers go by or the wind goes by, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay. And
And
I'm sorry.
I was sorry, I'm sorry too. I was going to say I really enjoyed the fact that whilst everyone else is going bah, in that direction, you're still trying to go in that direction, but you've got your own flock into the desert wrapped around you, and it worked. They all said yes.
Yeah. And we ended up on top of a mountain in the middle of the desert, schlepping, and it absolutely beautiful. And he came with 3 cameras and a drone, and everybody. It was like this magic day for everybody, and it was grown more than I was kind of ready for it, but we did it. And so it's kind of like a gathering on the mountain, and that part of it is kind of healing.
Wonderful. And so just say what it is. Where can people find out about it? We'll do more of this at the end of what we're talking about, but what's the event we're talking about now?
Well, it's called Can't Stop the Blues on Facebook. People can join that group. And then you can also go on YouTube, dot, dot, something C, Can't Stop the Blues, but you can get right there. And it's nice because, for me, it's when I thank them, it's can't stop the blues, can't stop music, can't stop love, can't stop truth, can't stop. It's all kinds of can't stops for me.
You're an unstoppable can't stop. I get that. That's good.
A
Love that.
nonstop.
You'll take that. Okay, good. So I'm going to walk you through and curate you through the normal journey of the Good Listening To podcast, which is a delightful storytelling journey. I can tell already, because you talked about beanstalks, you're a natural storyteller, Deanna. It's all going to be awesome. So first and foremost, in bringing you into the clearing, and you've mentioned the desert already, you've mentioned mountains. By the way, there was one other cool photograph I have to mention. There's a photograph of you on the back of a Harley Davidson belonging to somebody called Red, and you're playing saxophone facing the back of the motorbike. So that's quite a good road musician picture right there.
Ah, you're right. That's literally a road musician. Yeah, it was the last motorcycle on the parade down in Panama at the Boquete Blues and Jazz Festival. And and they said, "Would you do that?" I said, "Yeah, I'll try. Let's see if this will work." And Red and I, who I just met, I trusted him, he trusted me, and it ended up being wonderful. And I'm playing my horn, I'm like holding my horn, but what am I going to do with all these people around? So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, what song will everybody know? And I would like play something like on my horn, going, "Louie, Louie, oh, oh," and then all the people would go, "Woo!" and dance. I seem to have a column of um, whatchamacallit, intros on a horn with my horn. I've been on a camel on my horn at the pyramids in Egypt. There's
Yeah, of
pictures.
course.
The It was like the AP, what it is, the AP photography. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I have had an entrance in a cherry picker with my horn. I've been going up on a
And by your horn, you're very familiarly and affectionately referring to a saxophone, I'm assuming, that you play, or
oh
maybe
yes, a
many.
tenor saxophone, and so that was another entrance, with the camel and with my horn on the camel, which I had to make friends with that camel because they can
Of
get a little
course.
bit funny.
In fact,
But
my
we
son told me a joke about a camel just yesterday. What do you call a 3-humped camel? Pregnant. Sorry to give that away, but anyway,
Since I don't have a drum.
yes,
How old is he?
he's 13 and he's called Stan, and he's my pet gibbon and my lockdown bestie, I have to say. I've got a daughter who's 21, but she's at university now. So
Oh, I love that. Yes, I have the love of my life. My daughter just turned 27 with her first big girl job, and my best friend and the best thing ever.
get in. So Red on the motorbike in the Harley Davidson isn't someone that you're particularly attached to. It was just that day, that magic day in Panama, as a sort of Pied Piper of Panama on a Harley Davidson, just to conjure the picture.
Yeah, our lifelong relationship lasted for about a half an hour, and we totally enjoyed it.
You both enjoyed the ride. That's outstanding. Anyway, that was a slight divergence back into the clearing. So
Okay.
Deanna Bogart, multi-talented, awesome musician extraordinaire. What is a clearing like for you? Where do you go, metaphorically or literally, to get inspirational and able to just think and be creative?
Well, it could be internally, or externally. It's just the space. Most of it, most of it is internal, but I get it from more and more, and so the internal clearing. I love that word, by the way. The expanse of it has grown and grown, has I've gone along, because you take in so many of these wonderful things, and the Deanna Land landscape. Sometimes I see parts of it that I'd never seen before. If I'm lost in music, don't even remember that there's people out there while I'm playing, or if I'm running, or things like that can kind of be the portal for me.
What I loved in what you've just said is the notion of Deanna Land. So let's go with the clearing being Deanna Land. So you can decide where that is. And if I may, I'm going to arrive next to you in your clearing with a tree now, where I'm going to shake your tree to see which apples fall out. How'd you like them apples? And they're going to take the form of a storytelling exercise, which is very juicy, which is why I'm talking about apples that you can crunch us through on. See what I'm doing there.
I
And by the way,
bet.
I really enjoy also, whilst you're talking, occasionally there's a slap and the resonance of the instrument you've got on your knee. So what is the instrument you've got there?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. My
No, I
fingers
like it.
went by themselves. But there's a piano. There's this.
Ah,
It's a banjolele.
uh,
It's half banjo and half ukulele.
I
And I
I've
never
never banjolele is a great hybrid. I like that.
it's me too. It's got the ukulele has this wonderful soft sound, which I like, and this has part of that, but with this edge, you know.
Yes.
And and yes,
So
it's
what's
banjo.
the song of the moment in your head? You don't have to sing a whole song, but what's a refrain? If I just say play as a refrain, what's the tune in your head at this moment as we join you in your clearing in Deanna Land?
Wow. Let me think. Let me think. Hmm. I hear the voice that sang my favorite nursery rhyme. Still with me by the water's edge while sipping time to time Jamaican rum. Oh, the days to come.
Lovely. So here I am with a tree, and now the exercise is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Where Deanna Bogart, you've had about 5 minutes or as long as you needed to have thought about this. Where you're going to tell us 4 things that have shaped you, 3 things that inspire you, 2 things that never fail to squirrels. And you've just seen that film today. You know what I'm talking about from Up. Never fail to grab your attention, and then 1 quirky or unusual fact about you we couldn't possibly know until you tell us. So that's the construct. Over to you. 4 things that have shaped you.
Wow. Wow. Well, it's kind of an interesting question for me, and I'm actually interested that you're interested. I think that's really cool. Um, I'm kind of like, hmm, I'm every age I've ever been and ever will be. So I can kind of go wherever I need to go. So so many things shape you on the way with the choices that you allow for that, or defend from. So the things that shape, well, certainly, hmm. like of course it's easy to go right to like your childhood, where the worst of your childhood can also become the strongest ingredients that you have. So there was a lot of shapingness because of that. Um, when I took somebody's guitar, my mother's guitar when I was 10, and she was taking lessons, and I was about 10, and she was in the living room, and she kept playing, trying to play, practicing Red River Valley. Remember that song?
Um,
From this
Possibly.
valley they say you are going, you will with your might smile and sweet smile. The Red River Valley. And she would play the chord at the wrong time and the wrong thing. And I heard that for like 2 nights and it made me crazy. I was like 10. I was so frustrated. And on the third night, I just walked out and I took her guitar from the Spiegel catalog,
Give
acoustic
me that.
guitar, and I went, from this valley they say you are going. And I gave it to her. I walked back to my room and she comes walking down the hall and I know I'm going to be in trouble. And instead, she looked at me, she handed me the guitar, and she turned around and walked away, and it was mine.
Wow. So that was the birth of your musical birth, I suppose, the genesis of you with an instrument, 10, because you went to fix something and get the tune right.
I just knew what to do. I started at around 10 climbing on the piano, and it made sense to me. It was kind of familiar to me.
Ah.
And although most of it, I'm basically by ear.
And of course, you're a multi-instrumentalist. You can tell me later on us which are the instruments you play, but I know you happen to play the piano and the saxophone and the banjolele, and there could be other instruments you play as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, I left the clearing.
No, that's fine. No, you're in the clearing because you're 10, and that's the first memory. And by the way, the lovely thing about this exercise, broadly speaking, and I'm not trying to age us both, about once a decade, something pretty profound happens that shapes you. So the fact that you just went straight in there and said, at 10, I started being a musician is sort of brilliantly right there in the construct and the architecture of what we're talking about. So what else has shaped you? And who is the auntie, by the way, that you took the guitar off?
Who? I'm sorry.
Who was it that you took the guitar off? Did you
My
say it was
mother.
your mother? Sorry.
Mother.
Sure.
Yeah, and I didn't know, what being a musician meant or anything like that. I just knew that it was the place I found that I could go to when things were tough.
Aha.
And and I was kind of like the new kid in almost every year of life. And having music helps you. It helps
When
you.
you say that you're the new kid, is that because you're moving around a lot? Are you talking about, or you just, yeah, okay.
Hmm.
And where were you when you were 10 geographically?
Let's see. I was born in Detroit, raised in Detroit, New York, and Arizona.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we moved around a lot, which I loved. I kind of liked. I guess I got comfortable with the um, a life that was consistently inconsistent.
That's a lovely way to put it. A life that's consistently inconsistent. I love
And
that.
so apparently that's why I ended up being a road musician, which made sense because I like stability, I like solid, I like to know what's going on, I like the truth. But I was a road musician, and it just happened, and I'm like, okay, and this is just like growing up. This is consistently inconsistent, so I can do this.
And I'm hearing you're making me think of tumbleweed and
Mm.
just the idea of just going where the wind takes you.
Oh, good sound.
Here all week. So yes, so because you've mentioned the desert, Arizona, I could have a really stereotypical view of that, but it's this idea of, and when you mentioned the Joshua Tree as well, that was one of my favorite early albums of U2, the Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you've got me thinking in all sorts of rich storytelling stuff.
I'm sorry, but you did a really good tumbleweed, by the way.
Thank you. I'm available 24/7, obviously, to do that.
Hey, I'm
So
sorry, I got right now.
yes, I need some tumbleweed now. So yes, we're going back to you in the clearing. Anything else that
Okay.
shaped you? We've got your mother, 10, being consistently inconsistent. Love that. What else?
The things that shaped me in so many different ways, in and out. Working with just what you. working with what you have to work what you have, work with what's around, and emotionally and physically.
Even that's
So
lovely. Working with what you have, with what you have. That's great.
yeah, and so I have a friend that kind of calls me the queen of options because, but this, what are we going to do? And I'm like, or wait, wait a minute,
Ah,
what can
yeah.
I see? Well, there's something there. We can make that work. And I like that. It's, I just take a few seconds or a few minutes, and the creative option floats in every
It's a
time.
great moniker, the Queen of Options. Again, you're a very, very natural storyteller. I'm loving that. So the Queen of Options, another sort of boom moment. I love that. Very good. What else in the Queen of Options might have shaped you?
Or okay, certainly I knew that when you're talking about like an inner child, I'm a inner grown up outer child, and I know now that I was at the beginning when you go back and you remember certain things. And
By the way, you're working like a pinball machine for me. You keep saying things that are just going ping, 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 ping. I love it. Even that was a great expression. So this is going very well. I'm enjoying myself.
I'm, I'm glad. I know. I kind of. You remember what was the science fiction book? Who lived his life out of order?
Oh, well, that could be. Sorry, I don't know the exact book.
Billy Pilgrim.
Billy Pilgrim. Okay, who's that
Pilgrim.
by? Is it
And I should know this.
J.G. Ballard? Is what I'm
One of
thinking.
the famous. Um, of the, and
We're
you
going to
would
go into
know
it.
Billy Pilgrim. And I'm blanking because part of myself at 111, that little part of my brain is taking over right now. But
Sure. And
but
we were both drifting off into senior moments there, trying to remember the name of a book author. That's all good.
exactly. Billy Pilgrim, everybody knows Billy Pilgrim. And so I kind of I don't live on a like because you're this old you're supposed to do that, because this you're supposed to do that. That never kind of made sense to me.
Yes. So again, the swimming in against the tide, maverick going a new direction. The Queen of Options sums that up. Actually, that's really beautiful.
And plus you need information maybe from you older or younger. So I do the time traveling method, which I taught my daughter, which is really cool. And
So tell me
so
more about that. So that's lovely. The idea that you dig deep for resilience by going to different facets of your timeline.
right, before and ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't always listen to it because I should. Things would be different, but I like where I am right now. Love where I am right now. So, it's just a journey, and I've never known how old I am. And when I started touring, and then I started being able to travel in so many places, in so many countries, and I work with kids and work with adults and anybody. We're all just people, and I do. I like this because when I'm reading about you and looking up about you and listening to you, because my favorite thing that I do when I'm working with people with master classes or lessons is approach to improv, because that's what frees all of us, and it's a scary, scary thing, and boy, is it worth it.
Exactly that. It's a scary, scary thing, but boy, is it worth it, is a beautiful cherry on the cake of what improvisation is actually. And of course, jazz is, related to that too. So if you like, we can, I think we've nudged really well at things that's been beautiful inspiration of itself. So let's move on to 3 things that inspire you now. So when you look around you, what inspires you?
Let me think. Well, in one category, um, people with follow through inspire me. And I was sort of raised in sort of a situation where you're waiting for people to show up at your door with the silver tray and then be upset that they didn't show up.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
You know what
I do. Yes. The passivity and why didn't they arrive at my door with a silver tray? I thought I
Yes,
knew
and
the
it's your fault. Wait a minute. We don't even know who that person was, if there even existed. I used to it made no sense that either when I was a kid. But that inspires me and that helps me.
So you're talking about the action towards, not just passively waiting for stuff, actively going out and getting it if you want it or need it.
Yes, and I learned that, which also shaped and inspired, because I guess they're all connected,
They are.
you
Yep.
know, is the people around me as I went along the way. I found that I was being drawn to, or my tractor beam to them, that people were doing what they said, and whatever it took, or just
Yeah.
the follow through, something simple or something that took years. Some things take 30
Yes.
seconds or 30 years. And that being around those kinds of people, they
So
would
I'm
kind of,
hearing that you like courage in people to go and get it, but you also like consistency in that they turn up when they say they're going to turn up.
yeah, yeah, just, or tell me if it can't happen. Just tell me that too. you know,
Because the Queen
what,
of
what,
Options will work out what to do about that. I love
that's okay.
that.
There's options. There's always
There's
options.
always options. Okay.
And so it's still something that I fight. Maybe I'm just lazy, I don't know. But having people around like that, it elevates me just a little bit, and then it goes pew, and it's wonderful. Then it's scary and exciting, which is my favorite duality. If something's scary but I'm excited, then there's always something amazing on the other side of fear. And
And
it
there's a
always,
sort of parallel construct of something slightly duller than what you just said, which is a three concentric circle idea of comfort, risk, panic. If we get too comfortable, it's too comfortable. We always need to be risking, but nobody wants to panic. But that thin dividing line between panicking or risk is really interesting. And improvisation allows for that as well. It's
that's
like
right.
swimming away from the reef when it gets a bit, when it's a bit cold.
Being safe all the time isn't the best choice of the path, you
I
know. So if I get locked up, or really really awkward, or feeling my joy tank inside me is going down, then I might be on stage and I'll look at my guys and I'll just start playing a song that no one's ever heard, and it's a wonderful moment, a wonderful couple of minutes, and before I even know it, you're just free again, that
lovely.
kind
So the
of,
joy tank is what fuels that, is what I'm hearing.
yeah. Well, we're like a car, we all have our tanks.
But again, I've never heard it put that way. Again, you're a very natural storyteller. The joy tank, boom. That's another gift within this clearing. We're going to be talking about alchemy and gold next. But
Yeah, love
anything
that.
else?
I like that. Okay.
Anything else that inspires you? And if this is at all too rigorous because it's not giving you options, go where you like. But I'm driving you from.
I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I'm loving this because it's not meant to bind anything. It's meant to be a totally freeing, spontaneous. You've just got to be, as you are, reassured that I've got a structure in mind. So it's my job to bring you back to the clearing. But you're doing so. This is really, really stimulating for me.
Same with you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So, what about two things that never fail to grab your attention?
What never doesn't grab my attention? Hmm. Say it again.
Well,
I went to
it's
piano.
example. If you need an example, so rather comically, if I ever see a table tennis table, because I'm slightly obsessed with ping pong, and I like the ping.
What? Are you serious?
Yes,
Ping pong, ping pong, backgammon, and foot rubs and miniature golf are probably some of my favorite things in life. But ping pong, and somebody just offered me one the other day because they're moving. I'm doing a gig in their backyard. I said, "Oh, ping pong." She goes, "Oh, we're moving. You can have the ping pong table." This is
oh,
the day before yesterday.
they should have given it to me. Listen,
Oh,
if I was to
second.
play, I'm very good and slightly obsessed by it. If I was to play you, which I hope I will do someday, I'll probably beat you
Oh,
because
we
I'm very
will.
good.
Oh, we will.
Oh, I talk a good game as well, and I scared you enough to go. You probably will. That's good.
That's kind of my that's kind of my
By the way, I
take too.
like backgammon too. On holidays, I'm always playing backgammon. And people don't always want to play me, which is quite sad. Anyway,
We
good.
might be related and we don't even know. We are.
Exactly. So now, so that was me that inspired you with ping pong. So what never fails to, what are your squirrels that wherever it happens, you'll go there?
Whatever happens, I will go there. Hmm. What I can't not do?
I mean, my presumption is that if you are ever walking past somebody playing an instrument, you might go, "Don't," and just check it out because that's your vibe and you're drawn to music. So it's stuff that in your life just is never fails to make you stop in your tracks. A bit like when you hear a piece of music that just triggers a memory.
It does. And I've had some wonderful instant jams on street corners all over the world and anywhere else. Not to just, intrude, just be grooving, and you can kind of feel each other. And someone will say, "Come on, sing with me." And I'll walk over and I'll go, "All right," I'll just start singing a harmony. And then it turns into the seed starts to grow like the beanstalk.
I love that. It's just the universality of music, which transcends all cultures, all barriers. It's just something we can all find relatable.
It is. It's wonderful. I've been in many countries where we had no language, but we could still do the same musically, and it was just as wonderful as
And again, I
always.
so love that you're holding an instrument as we speak. I imagine that you're rarely very far away from an instrument.
Yeah, I gave up. I surrendered. And
um,
years ago, this is who we are. It's like my music was my was my twin or something, and
yeah.
it did save me. It saved me many ways, in many ways. It really did. And there was a time when I wanted to separate, but then I realized that, like, for me, if the ocean is music, I'm a little fish, and I just go follow the music.
Oh, I love that. Also, when you were talking, then you made me think of his Dark Materials, which is a book series, and the fact that you're inexorably attached to your daemon or your demon. So I can imagine a musical instrument would be your demon or your daemon, if you know what I mean by that. His Dark
Exactly.
Materials is a Philip Pullman series. But anyway, if you haven't heard of it, that I didn't have a senior moment because I remembered the author as well.
Oh, you're
Hurrah.
young. I think you have a few young. I have a lot of years on you. However, just so you know, because I know you're much younger than I am, that I realize that with every number, if you have to remember the number, something fades a little bit, but
Yes.
a new superpower comes in.
Boom, another awesome pocket of gold. We're going to come on to alchemy and gold. I promise that's soon. So what's, just before we leave the tree shaking, what's one quirky or unusual fact about you, Deanna Bogart, we couldn't possibly know until you now tell us?
I don't know, because what somebody else might think is quirky, I don't,
Okay.
or vice versa. But what's quirky about me? I think there's a lot of things that's quirky about me, because I get a certain face from a lot of people, mostly with love, but sometimes with
Mostly who, sorry?
from mostly the people in my world that I
Yeah.
love, who love me, you know, and people who don't, you know.
You sort of
So
I like that. You get a face. I'm just playing around with the light. Sorry, because I'm realizing I'm
I
starting
like
to look
it.
at,
It's beautiful where you are. I mean, it's a
it's
really nice
a
corner.
Velux window, which is streaming in a bit of beautiful evening light, which is nice now.
It looks beautiful. I like your
Thank you.
space.
And thank you so much for, you're still listening to the Good Listening To podcast. I know we all know that, but I'm just remembering that it's a podcast and the listeners are listening to Deanna Bogart and me, Chris Grimes. This is awesome. So we've finished shaking your tree and now we're going to stay in the clearing and move
Oh,
away from the
thank you.
tree.
I need to be in the clearing.
No, you stay there. It's yours forever. In perpetuity, it's your clearing.
I
And
have one foot out for this and one foot out here, but this way I could get to be out here with you and still in the clearing. So thank you.
I like the way you think. Now, alchemy and gold. When you are at purpose and in flow, what's the alchemy in the gold? Or as I've heard it couched beautifully recently, what are the diamonds beneath your feet that you are here to bring to the world?
Wow. Well, I wow. That's beautiful. Like I could do a hear ye list on that one. What you want to bring to the world, but really, I vowed to myself a long time ago that I would be emotionally safe for anybody, and I wouldn't be mean, and I wouldn't allow mean. Um, I just that I'd never brought anybody down. Keep you where you are or elevate you, but never bring you down. Whoever you are, whoever you are.
Wow.
And the thought that somebody might even just remember me, that's pretty much good enough for me.
That's just
Maybe,
perfect. Sorry, you were going to say?
maybe, I was watching some documentaries and different things over the years, and I realized where I felt what life after death is, and it's like when I'm hearing a Glenn Gould playing Mozart or this or that, or and you feel it. You feel
Yes.
it. You're moved by them, whether you're in their audience, you know them, you don't know them, you hear them, and that's life after death. And I like to think that somewhere along the line, generations to come, they found a song or they found a line that went, "That's what I needed to hear." You know, that would be a nice
Perfect.
thing. But I won't know unless I'm somewhere else. You
Love
know what I
that.
mean?
Yeah, yeah. That, and if I pause every now and again, it's because I'm just enjoying the silence of letting us catch up with those lovely thoughts.
Thank you. I'm trying to slow down my brain. It goes really fast forward, so I have to calm down.
And it's very, very entertaining and compelling because of that. So please don't change anything. This is lovely.
Thank
Okay,
you.
now in the clearing, I'm going to award you with a cake, Deanna Bogart, and
Ah,
this is the final storytelling metaphor. You looked excited there. Do you like cake?
yes, I haven't even had breakfast yet. This is great.
And this is the final storytelling metaphor where we're going to put a cherry on the cake. And
Okay.
this is what you'd like the legacy of our conversation to be. So this could be, and you've been giving us alchemy gold and cherries on the cake all along, actually. But this is in summary, I suppose. What would be a favorite piece of advice you've ever been given that stayed with you? What advice might you give to a younger version of yourself? These are options for the Queen of Options. Or it
Uh,
could be it just could be, let's get existential. You've mentioned this already, but inspired by Shakespeare's all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players, and each man or woman in their time plays many parts, their acts being seven ages. What would you like your legacy to be? And you've given us a bit of that already because we know the music needs to live on. So how would you most like to be remembered? Now I've laid out quite a complex stall there, but
you have
you can go where you like with the cake that is awarded to you.
the cake. Okay. My legacy. Hmm. Well, we kind of talked about that. So the cake. Help me again.
So,
I've.
what's the best piece of advice? A bit like when your mother gave you the guitar. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Well, with musicians, um, young and old, you know, when they come up and they say, "But I can't play like so and so. I'll never play like so and so. I'll never play like you," or blah blah blah, and I'll say, "Good," because you're not supposed to be as good as me or anybody else. You're supposed to be as good as you. And please remember now, because it took me a lot longer, that to value yourself and know that who you are is enough.
Perfect. And anything else you'd like to say here in the clearing as an afterthought?
I'd like to have a retreat in the clearing and talk about uh,
And
that.
by the
That
way,
would
in
be
France with Katie Elliott Armitage, that space, l'espace, that where you did your blues and boogie weekend three times, I believe you've been there. But it's one of my favorite curated spaces on the planet because I go there to do Instant Wit, my comedy improvisational company, Laughter Lab, as it's called. So I know we share that space in common and the beautiful Katie Elliott Armitage in common too. And I'm so happy she's introduced us.
me too. And I've always wanted to do improv. I improv on stage all the time, and I love it. And I'll make up. I can't remember a verse. I'll just make up a new one, and it somehow makes sense, or a story about what somebody's doing out in the audience. And I love that you do that, and it's just one of my favorite things to do and to respect and listen to, and I love it. I want to take your class.
And where on the internet can we find out more about you? You've talked about the gig that's happening and you've got a Facebook group, but just plant the seeds to grow into the beanstalks of how many more followers you'll get.
The
So
Beanstalk Effect.
So where can we find out more about Deanna Bogart on the interweb?
DeannaBogart.com, or we're all Googleable, but there's a lot of stuff out there. After so many decades, wow, what an interesting time it is for 2021. How have you
Yeah,
been doing
God.
during the pandemic?
Well, interestingly, my normal flow of work sort of went off a cliff a bit. Thank you for asking. But actually, out of adversity comes great creativity. This very
Exactly.
podcast, I know I would not have had the idea if it wasn't for the fact I was going, oh shit, what am I going to do?
That's right. When everybody was all upset, and I'm like, we've been doing this every day for some of us 30, 40, 50 years. So if I can been doing it this long with a house and raised a daughter, then I guess I can still do it in a different way,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and find it with the Deanagrams and all kinds of stuff. But really good stuff came out of something
Oh, and
that's not.
Deanagrams, they are obviously they're musical riffs that you can lay down for people by request. Is that right?
Yeah, now I have upgrades. It can do all kinds of things. Which is, there's DB quickies, and sometimes I rewrite a song. I make them all personalized, and I ask certain questions so I can pick out the little nuggets
Yep.
that I know is a nugget, and and then I just use wherever I am. I ended up on top of a bus with my horn in the middle of the desert
Of
doing
course you
one.
did.
It's just wherever, whatever I've got, I'll work. I'll
There's
work
two
with.
lovely things there. You're in a desert with a bus. Even that's quirky. I like that.
And a
What's a
school
bus
bus.
doing in the desert?
Exactly. How can I not do that?
And I so enjoyed the occasional twang of the fact you're strapped to your instrument at the moment. Can I put you under slight pressure? Would you like to leave the Good Listening To podcast with a bit of a Deanagram? What would be your passing musical refrain that you'd like to say goodbye with?
Oh, wow. And I'm doing this to one of the masters. Thank you. Let me see. Let's, in the morning with Chris on the screen. I'm glad that I was here and everything it means. Want the next part?
Yes, I'm feeling really humbled that you even bothered to turn it into about me. I just wanted you could have done anything from your catalogue, but you're
This is
bespoking a
where,
Deanagram.
but this is where we are.
Yes, please, pray continue, madam, and sorry to interrupt you.
Chris, it's gonna be a good night. Oh, I could go on and I could do an album.
I love that. As long as I get a sort of handle on the album, this album inspired by Chris Grimes and the Good Listening To podcast. So in all seriousness, Deanna, thank you so much. It's been a real privilege welcoming you to the Good Listening podcast with me, Chris Grimes, and I've so enjoyed it. And I hope your gig in the desert, which I appreciate is in the can already, but may you get many people coming. It's the Pied Piper of Hamelin, but you're the Pied Piper of Panama and the Pied Piper of the desert. So other such alliteration like that. But thank you. This has been way beyond tumbleweed. But thank you
I'll
very much.
I'll tumbleweed with you anytime. It was a pleasure. It really, really was. Thank you.
You too. And I'll send this back to you as a film, then it'll be a podcast. And let's get it out there. Pleasure working with you. Thank you very much.
You too. Thanks.
I'm going to stop recording and good night.